you have a class after 2:10, 2:20? No one responds to it.
Sorry, ma'am, what was it?
No. Do you have a class after 2:20?
Yes, ma'am, we have CPS, I think.
Okay, so then better let everybody join fast so that I can start with the class without wasting
Ma'am,
time.
actually, ma'am, now your presentation has gone blank, ma'am.
Blank. Oh, is it now?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, right. Okay, then I'll start with the class without wasting the time. I wait for everybody to join and then start with the class. It's a waste of time for me. How many are there? 16. Okay, fine. Right. So, in the last class, we had started with the model evaluation techniques and strategies, because model evaluation is something which is a very integral part of model development process, right? So, basically, that is divided into two parts. One is evaluating the classification, and second one is evaluating the regression. Okay, so there are n number of techniques available for it, and we had started looking into the techniques. Okay, so I think holdout was discussed in the previous class, right? So the holdout way of evaluating the classifier accuracy, where the data set is being split into training and test set. Okay, so generally the rule of thumb is 80% of the data is being used for training and 20% is being used for testing. Okay, or you can even go for having a validation uh, set, which is a subset of the training data set. Okay, and you can have three things. One is a training set, one is a validation set, which will help you to assess the performance of the model, whatever is being built in the training phase, and then finally go for a test set. Okay, so that was what our holdout method was all about. Then I think we started discussing about the cross validation. I think this is where we stopped in the previous class. Cross validation. Am I audible clearly? Am I audible clearly, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next is cross validation. How do you evaluate the classifier's accuracy? So please pay attention, because when you go for doing a project, major project or minor project, most of your projects will come under AI, ML, or data science. So, and finally, whatever model you do or build, finally you will have to go for evaluating it. Okay, so that time you will not be knowing how do you go ahead with the evaluation, what are the various techniques, how do we do it, which is suitable for you. Okay, so I mean, all these topics are very, very important, not just in for examination sake for data mining. Okay, so next is cross validation. Okay, so cross validation, or you can call it as k-fold cross validation. Okay, so data set is being randomly split into k groups. Okay, so it's being split into k groups, and one particular group will be used for testing, and the remaining will be used for training. Okay, then uh, I mean, if you are splitting it into five folds, or five k is equal to 5, so in such case, what will happen is the data set will be split into five groups. You can see here, a data set will be split into five groups, and the model will be trained and tested five separate times. So each group will have a chance to act as a test set. Okay, so you can see here in split 1, fold 1 is becoming the test data. In split 2, fold 2 is becoming the test data. In split 3, fold 3 is becoming the test data. Split 4, fold 4 is becoming the test data. And in split 5, fold 5 is acting as the test data. Okay, so that's what I'm telling. So the model will be trained on the training set, and it will be scored on the test set. Okay, so that process is being repeated until each unique group has been used as the test set. Okay, so each will get a chance to act as the test set. Okay, so I mean, when you have this particular technique, when you have a limited amount of data is available, when you want to have an unbiased estimate of the model performance, then we basically go for what is called your k-fold cross validation. Okay, so what you basically do is you divide the data set into k subsets of equal size, then you build the model k times, each time leaving out one of the subsets from the training set, which will be used as the test set. Okay, so that's what your k-fold cross validation is all about. Okay, so then you can see here there's something mentioned here as stratified sampling or stratified cross validation. Okay, what is basically this stratified cross validation? So before I tell you what is that, let me show you what is stratified sampling. Okay, so stratified sampling means the samples, sample in the sense a representative amount selected from the entire population or from the entire data set. It's a terminology which is being used in statistics. Okay, so the samples are selected in the same proportion. Okay, so that is by dividing the population into groups or strata based on the characteristics as they appear in the population. For example, you can see here. Okay, so if the data set, or in statistical terms we call it as population, so if the population whatever we are considering is having 30% male and 70% females. Okay, so then what we do is we divide the entire population into two groups. Two groups. Okay, one is male group and one is female group. Okay, so and then what you do is you select 30% of the sample from the male group. Why? Because our 30% of the population is male, and then you select 70% of the sample from the female group. Okay, so that's what we basically do. That's what is stratified sampling. Okay, so your samples are divided into the same proportion. 30-70 is the ratio, means 30% will be selected from one strata and the 70% will be selected from the other strata. Okay, so this the same thing is being used for your cross validation too. Okay, so uh, like when you when you try to implement this stratified sampling concept to your cross validation, so it will ensure that the training data set and the testing data set has the same proportion of whatever features we are considering in the original data set. Okay, so same way, we can reduce the error and all those things, and you can have a good representation. So that's the reason why we go for what is called your stratified cross validation. Okay, so the folds are stratified so that the class in each fold is an approximation of the same as that of the initial data. Okay, so that's what your stratified sampling is all about. Okay, so next we move on to the next the technique. So next technique is what is called your confusion matrix. Confusion matrix. Okay, so before we move on to the confusion matrix, we had discussed about this holdout and cross validation. Holdout and cross validation. Okay, so like when do we go for this holdout and when do we go for this cross validation? Okay, so compared to both, your cross validation is generally preferred, because that will give you a better opportunity to train your model on multiple train test split. I said no, each group is getting a chance to act as a test data. Okay, so this actually will give you a better indication regarding how well your model will perform. Okay, on even the unseen data, that is for future prediction. Okay, so but then your holdout, whatever we had discussed initially, so that is actually dependent on the train test splitting. Okay, so so that's the difference. Okay, so people prefer cross validation when compared to your holdout. Okay, so that's regarding those two. So now coming to the next one. So next one is about the next thing for model evaluation. What we're going to discuss is regarding another metrics, classifier evaluation, a model evaluation metric called confusion matrix. Confusion matrix. The confusion matrix is something which generates confusion. How many are there in the class to listen? 42. Okay, so please be attentive. Okay, so rather than giving you the definition and I mean, telling you what the various concepts associated with confusion matrix is, because confusion matrix is a very important aspect. So I thought I will take up a small case study which I took up from one of the websites and help you to understand what basically this confusion matrix is all about. Okay, so actually this confusion matrix is a summary of the prediction results, hmm, based on your classification problem, whatever you have considered. Okay, so now let's try to understand this with the help of a case study. So as the picture suggests, okay, so during this COVID pandemic situation, okay, people are traveling from one place to another place. So the airport is a big place where people may have to wait in the queue, check for the flight, then visit multiple food stall or make use of the facilities like your washroom and other things. So tracking COVID positive passengers, at the airport, it can actually help in the spread of the virus. Okay, so let's consider we have a machine learning model, classifying the passengers as COVID positive and COVID negative. Okay, so that's the scenario what we are having. Okay, so when you are performing the classification prediction, okay, so four types of outcomes can happen. Okay, so four types of outcomes can happen. Are you all listening? Apurva, listening?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, please. I know it's mid-afternoon. It's a little bit difficult to listen, but it's something interesting. I'm trying to make the concept interesting by with the help of a case study. So rather than just giving you definitions. Okay, so you can see here. Okay, you have understood the scenario, what it is. So my objective is to, classifying the passengers as COVID positive and negative, and let's have a confusion matrix which will give us a summary of the predicted results. Okay, so when you're performing the classification prediction, so okay, so you have these four different types of outcomes. Okay, so one is what is called, you can see figure 1, figure 2, figure 3 and figure 4, true positive, true negative, false positive and false negative being put up. Okay, so what is this true positive? True positive. So what is this true positive? Any idea by looking at the figure? Hmm? Okay, by looking at the figure, what is true positive? Nobody knows, huh? So a passenger who's classified as COVID positive is actually COVID positive. Okay, so he's being stopped. Okay, so a passenger who is classified as COVID positive is actually positive. So that's what is true positive. That is when you predict an observation belongs to a class and it actually does belong to that class. Okay, so you're predicting that an observation belongs to a particular class, and it actually belongs to that class, then we call it as a true positive. Okay, so the passenger, in this case, the passenger who is classified as COVID positive and he is actually COVID positive. Okay, actually he is positive. Okay, so that's what is true positive. Okay, the next is true negative. Okay, what is true negative? True negative. So a passenger who's classified as not COVID positive, in the sense negative, and is actually not COVID positive. Okay, so that means when you predict an observation does not belong to a class, and it actually does not belong to that particular class. Okay, so that's what is true negative. Okay, so a passenger who's classified as not COVID positive, okay, and is not actually uh, COVID positive, true negative. Okay, so the next is you have the third case, what is called false positive. False positive. The name suggests itself false positive. Okay, so what does false positive means? A passenger who's classified as COVID positive, but then he's actually not COVID positive. He's actually negative, but then he's classified as COVID positive. Okay, so that's when we call as false positive. False positive means when you predict an observation when you predict that an observation belongs to a class, but it actually does not belong to that particular class. Okay, then the last case is what is called your false negative. Okay, so false negative. Okay, so in this case, a passenger who is classified as not COVID positive and is actually COVID positive. So that is what is false negative. That is when you predict an observation does not belong to a class and is actually does belong to that class. Okay, so that's what he's being classified as not COVID positive and is actually COVID positive. That is false negative. Is it confusing? Confusion matrix is creating confusions. No response from the class. The whole class slept hearing my case study story. Are you all listening? Sriram?
Yes, ma'am. I'm listening, ma'am.
Okay. So whatever I have told just now, okay, the four outcomes you can see here. So for better visualization of the performance of this particular classification model. Okay. So these four outcomes, whatever I have told, okay, so that's being plotted as a confusion matrix. So you can see here confusion matrix. So you can see here four cases: true positive, true negative, where it's correctly predicted as positive, correctly predicted as negative. That is true positive and true negative. Okay, so then we have false positive and false negative. Okay, false positive means incorrectly predicted as negative, incorrectly predicted a negative passenger as positive, whereas false negative is incorrectly predicted a positive passenger as a negative. Okay, so these are the four outcomes. Okay, so now uh, let's look into the various metrics associated with this. Metrics associated with this confusion matrix itself. Okay, how can we tell? How can we make some meaning out of it? Better meaning out of it. So first one is let us concentrate on this true positive and true negative. You have this TP and TN. Okay, so actually we want our model to the COVID model to focus on this true positive and true negative. Okay, so accuracy is one measure. Okay, so which actually will give the fraction of the predictions the model has got right. That is true positive and true negative. You can see here true positive and true negative. Correctly predicted as positive, correctly predicted as negative. So actually we want our model to concentrate on this true positive and true negative. Okay, so accuracy is one metric which will give you the fraction of the predictions your model under consideration has got correctly. Okay, so giving you a definition of accuracy, we can define accuracy as accuracy is equal to the number of correct predictions divided by the total number of predictions. Please make a note. Very, very important, not just from data mining or examination point of view. Later, when you start doing a project, that time you will start thinking about all these things. Okay, so accuracy can be better defined as TP plus TN divided by TP plus TN. Okay, it's TN. Okay, in the down it is written TP plus FP plus FN. This is not TP written twice. It is TN. Okay, it's positive plus negative. TP plus TN divided by positive plus negative. That is TP plus TN plus FP plus FN. That's a mistake. Since it is an image, I cannot correct it right now here. Okay, fine. So now, okay, so now let's consider 50,000 passengers travel per day on an average. Okay, so out of which 10 are actually COVID positive. Okay, 10 are actually COVID positive. Okay, so one of the most easiest way to increase the accuracy is to classify. You can label every passenger as COVID negative. Okay, so if you do that, okay, if you do that, what happens is this is how your confusion matrix will look like. So when your confusion matrix looks like this, accuracy, if you count the accuracy, that is your based on your calculations. If you compute your accuracy, that is TP plus TN divided by positive plus negative, you will land up with an accuracy of 99.98 accuracy. Okay. So for that, what did we do actually? I said, I mean, uh, we just increased we try to increase the accuracy of the classifier by classifying every passenger as a COVID negative. Okay, so that's the reason why we landed up with this 99.98 accuracy. But then that actually does not solve our purpose of classifying the COVID passengers correctly, COVID positive passengers correctly. Okay, what is our objective? Our objective here is to identify the COVID positive passengers. Okay, so we are getting a 99.98% accuracy by simply labeling everybody as COVID negative. Okay, but then this way, obviously, this is a way more accuracy. I mean, we can increase the accuracy, but then that doesn't solve our purpose. Our purpose is to identify the COVID positive passengers. So you can make out that, as mentioned here in the slide, accuracy as a measure, it's actually a not so good measure because it's easy to get extremely good accuracy, but that is not what we are basically interested in. Okay, so this in this particular context, in this particular scenario, okay, so accuracy is not a good measure to evaluate the model. Not every time. In this particular scenario or example, what I have given, okay, it is not in accordance with our objective or purpose. Okay, so that's the reason why we go for yet another accuracy measure, yet another popular measure called recall. Okay, recall. Okay, so recall is also called sensitivity or true positivity rate. Okay, recall, it's synonymous to sensitivity or true positive rate. Okay, so recall will actually give the fraction you correctly identified as positive out of all the positives. Okay, so you can see here the formula. Recall is equal to true positive divided by true positive plus false negative. True positive in the sense correctly identified as COVID positive. TP plus FN means total of COVID positive passengers. Okay, so out of all positive passengers, what fraction you identified correctly? Okay, so going back to our previous strategy. So going back to our previous strategy, what was our previous strategy? So we labeled everybody as that extra two passengers as negative. So if we do that, we will land up with a recall of, what will be the recall in that case? It will be, yeah, you will land up with, yeah, 0 divided by 0 plus 10, right? So we will get it as 0 by 10, we'll get it as 0. Okay, so you get a recall as 0. So yeah, so in this context, you can say, okay, so I mean, yeah, so in that case, recall is a good measure. You're getting a recall as 0. Okay, so but then labeling everybody as negative and getting a recall of 0. Okay, so I mean, actually, we want to maximize our recall. Okay, so I mean, so what we do is, I'll just give you another scenario. What is being shown here in the slide? Okay, you are considering a scenario of you're trying to label every passenger as COVID positive. Okay, when you when you label them as negative, you land up with a recall of 0. Okay, so we always want to maximize our recall. Okay, that is true positive rate, true positive rate or sensitivity. Okay, so in this particular scenario, when you are trying to label every passenger as COVID positive, so everyone who walks into the airport, everybody walks into the airport and the model labels them as positive. Okay, so actually speaking, if you label everybody as positive, that's not good, right? Labeling every passenger as positive, okay? Because I mean, the expense wise, we will have to spend time and money in actually investigating each and every person before they board the flight. Okay, so that's not actually a good strategy. Okay, so and if you see the recall, so recall in this case will be equal to 10 divided by, I mean, based on this confusion matrix, you will get 10 divided by 10, so you will get it as 1. Okay, so actually that's a huge problem. Okay, so I like if you see accuracy, accuracy was a bad idea in the sense initially when we considered that is labeling everybody as negative. That will increase the accuracy, but then recall will be a good measure in that particular context. But then labeling everybody as positive, okay, out here, whatever we just did, so that will increase the recall as well. Okay, so this particular measure called recall independently as such is not a good measure. Okay, so it varies from situation to situation. As such, independently, it is not a good measure. So we have another one more measure called precision. Okay, so I'm showing you different cases here. What basically happens when we labeled everybody as negative, when we labeled everybody as positive. Okay, what happens to your accuracy, recall, and other things. So now we have another measure called precision. Okay, so what this precision do is, precision will give you the fraction of correctly identified as positive out of all the predicted positives, all predicted as positives. It will give you the fraction of correctly identified as positive out of all the predicted as positive. Okay, so now let's consider a second bad strategy. What was a second bad strategy? Labeling every passenger as positive. So in that case, what would be the precision? Precision is TP by TP plus FP. TP is nothing but correctly predicted as COVID positive. TP plus FP is total predicted as COVID positive. Okay, so in that case, when we try to, I mean, considering the strategy of labeling every passenger as positive, so in that case, precision will turn out to be like, I think, how much will be the precision in that case? Every passenger, in the sense you had 10, right? 10 divided by TP plus what was FP? FP will be, in that case, previous case, it was minus 50,000 minus 10. That was 49,990. Okay, so 10 divided by 10 plus 4,990. Okay, somewhere fraction of some 0.000 something it will come. Maybe 1 or 2 it will come. Okay, so I mean, but then that had a good recall value. We had a recall of 1, right? Recall of 1, where is it? Yeah, that had a, yeah, this one, see, FP is 49, fine. So it will turn out to be 0 point something. Okay, so though recall was good, precision value turns out to be 0.000 something. Okay, so what I want to tell is, recall also is not a good measure, so we need to consider the precision value. Okay, so if we consider everybody as positive, you can see here everybody is positive. Okay, so yeah, everybody is positive. I mean, it turned out to be 0.0002, right, or something. Yeah, so now in the slide I've shown you another case. Okay, so where you're trying to label certain, I mean, top passengers. Top passengers are as COVID positive. Okay, so that is labeling the passengers with the highest probability of having COVID. Okay, so and let's say we have only one such passenger. Okay, the top priority passenger or whatever, we have only one such passenger. So the confusion matrix for that is being shown here. Okay, so if you compute the precision value in that case, precision turns out to be 1. Okay, so precision value is good, but then if you check the recall value, you can see here in the slide. So recall value, it's for one passenger, it turns out to be 0.1. Okay, so you can see here precision value is good, but then recall value is low here. Okay, so it all varies from situation to situation. That's what I just wanted to tell you. Okay, so you can see here the overall chart of all the various different cases what I just showed you. Okay, so in some cases, we are pretty sure that we want to maximize either the recall or the precision, whatever it is, at the cost of others. Okay, but then here in this particular scenario, in this COVID situation, we really want to get the predictions right because it is COVID. Okay, so we want to get the predictions right for COVID positive, for COVID positive passengers, because we can otherwise, if we don't get the predictions right, so that will increase in the result and increase of the COVID. Okay, so we are more interested in recall here. In this particular situation, we are interested in recall. Okay, it's a sort of trade-off actually. Okay, so in many cases, increasing the precision will reduce the recall and vice versa. Okay, so that's actually what we call it as precision recall trade-off. Okay, precision recall trade-off. Okay, so I mean, yeah, these are the different situations. Okay, so the precision recall trade-off. Okay, so many of the, you can see here, I have put here two cases. Okay, so if you see many of the classification models, the probabilities will be put in between the value 0 and 1. Because, but then here in this case, you can see greater than 0.3, less than 0.3, greater than or equal to 0.9, and less than 0.9. Why? Because we cannot take the risk of labeling the passengers as negative, even with a small doubt of having having the COVID. Okay, so we are strategizing in such a way that your output probability is greater than 3. In this case, greater than 3. If it is greater than 3, we will label them as COVID positive. Okay, or it's negative if it is less than 3. Okay, so this particular thing results in higher recall and lower precision. Okay, so the second thing, whatever I'm showing you here, it is actually the opposite of it. Okay, so it's actually the opposite of the first scenario what I'm showing here. Okay, so there is like when we want to classify the passengers as positive, where that is, we want to classify the passengers as positive when we are sure that the passenger is positive. Okay, so we set the probability threshold as 0.9. Okay, so that is classifying the passenger as positive when the probability is greater than or equal to zero point 0.9. Okay, greater than or equal to 0.9, this particular scenario. Otherwise it is negative. Okay, so that's what, these are the two different situations. Okay, so in general, if you see, so most of the classifiers, there is going to be a trade-off between recall and precision, as and when you vary your probability threshold. Okay, so this is actually the graph which shows. Okay, so if you want to compare different models with the different precision recall values, then it's always good if you have a metric which combines the goodness of both your precision and recall. Okay, so that's what, it's often convenient to combine precision and recall into one single metric. Okay, so we have one such measure, that is what is called your F1 score. Okay, so this is a metric that considers both your precision and recall in order to compute the performance. Okay, so you can see here F1 score. So F1 score is basically defined as the harmonic mean of the model's precision and recall. Okay, so F1 is equal to 2 into precision multiplied by recall divided by precision plus recall. Okay, so why we are using harmonic mean? There are different types of mean, right? Arithmetic mean, geometric mean, so many types of means are there, and weighted mean, trimmed mean, so many things are there as far as statistics is concerned. Okay, so we basically make use of this harmonic mean because it is not sensitive to extremely large values, unlike your simple averages and other things. Okay, so if we have a model with a precision of 1 and a recall of 0, yeah, it gives a simple average as 0.5, and an F1 score, if you do it, you will land up with the value of 0. Okay, so even if one of the parameters is low, the second one no longer matters in the F1 score. Okay, so this is actually a very good score. Okay, it's a better measure to use if you're seeking a balance between your precision and recall. Okay, so F1 score is actually favored by many data scientists when you have similar precision and recall values. Okay, so that's regarding your F1 score. Are you listening or sleeping? No response from the class. 47 people are there. Vithun, are you listening?
Yes, ma'am.
My friend Rakesh is there. Rakesh, are you there? He's not there. Hmm? Okay, so let me take attendance. Okay, so I hope all of you are following it. It's actually very interesting. I know the name
Yes,
confusion.
ma'am.
Confusion matrix. Oh, was that Rakesh or Anirudh?
Ma'am, myself, ma'am. Listening.
Okay, okay. So the name confusion matrix is slightly confusing. I know that, especially when you hear it in the mid afternoon after a heavy lunch, it is slightly confusing. But then, those who have paid attention, those who have a affinity towards learning AI, ML, and data mining, definitely would have enjoyed the case study what I just mentioned. Did anybody enjoy it? Can you just put in the chat window?
Did not enjoy it. It
Slightly
was
confusing.
attention seeking.
It was
Attention seeking.
attention seeking. Yeah, it was an attention seeking thing. Because it is slightly confusing. Actually, when you start working on your projects, you will come across all these things. I hope others were also listening in the class. Okay, let me take attendance and then move on to the next one. Okay, so we have one more topic called ROC curve and ROC curve characteristics. Okay, so or maybe after attendance, I'll just come back and refresh our matrix, confusion matrix once again. It's up to you. So let me first take attendance. Don't leave after the attendance. Anirudh,
Present, ma'am.
Dharini,
Present, ma'am.
Ram Harini,
Present, ma'am.
Kalyan Sundar,
Present, ma'am.
and Aravind. Yes, noted. Sharan Varghese. Sharan Varghese. Sharan Varghese, no response. Does he have an OD or something?
Yes, ma'am.
Sharan Varghese is having OD.
Yes, ma'am. Shreyas and Sharan Varghese.
Okay, Sharan Varghese. Yeah, you please tell me when I call out that, and that's 20 is OD. Shakti Priya,
Present, ma'am.
Nishok,
Present, ma'am.
Shreya,
Present, ma'am.
Suveda,
Present, ma'am.
Vishal Bhasin,
Present, ma'am.
Srimati,
Chat box, ma'am.
chat box. Okay. Kamini Nityashri,
Yes, ma'am.
Pranav is OD, right? Fine. Srimati, yes, 46.
Present, ma'am.
Raja Singh,
Present, ma'am.
49. 49. Okay,
Present, ma'am.
49 is Raja Singh. Fine. 50, Pooja,
Yes, ma'am.
Lavanya,
Present, ma'am.
Nityashri,
Present, ma'am.
Sriram Ji,
Present, ma'am.
Likita,
Present, ma'am.
Satyamohan,
Chat box, ma'am.
okay. Sharan,
Chat box, ma'am.
okay. Aviral Patel,
Present, ma'am.
Hemavartini,
Present, ma'am.
Ajay,
Ajay, present, ma'am.
okay. Akshata Saha,
Present, ma'am.
Karthik Balaji,
Present, ma'am.
Santosh Kumar,
Present, ma'am.
okay. Anand Arun. Anand Arun, is he the same in all the classes? Frequently absent? Or only in data mining class? Rahul P. Okay, noted. Suhasini Shrikant,
Present, ma'am.
Apurva,
Present, ma'am.
Vithun,
Present, ma'am.
Adityan,
Present, ma'am.
Selva Niklesh. Or rep is absent, class representative. Rep, are you there? Class rep is not there. Huh? What about Adityan 120? Did I call out that number? 120. 120 is also absent.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Present, ma'am.
Adityan is there. Okay. A class representative is absent. Okay. 122 I saw in the chat window. 123 Achintamadan. 145 Sai Santosh Kumar.
Present, ma'am.
Pavitra Shri.
Present, ma'am.
Ma'am, 123 present, ma'am.
120.
3.
Yeah. 123 is marked as present.
Okay.
Or 121 is marked as absent. Our class representative. Praveen 149.
Present.
Rakesh. Nobody informed him to join. Huh?
Present, ma'am.
Rakesh is there. Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Just arrived. Huh?
Ma'am, no, ma'am. I was in meet only, ma'am.
Then why, when I asked you, I called out your name, there was no response.
Ma'am,
That particular point of time, your audio disturbed you. Huh?
when, ma'am?
Then
Before. Ma'am, at what time, ma'am?
what time? Huh? Oh
Ma'am, I
God.
was from starting, so on.
Yeah. What time? I'll have to see the recording and tell you what point, a particular point of time I called you. I didn't. Next time I'll make a note of the timing. Okay, Rakesh?
Okay. I'm really sorry, ma'am. I was.
Yeah.
The
Actually,
first one.
sorry. First time, huh? I don't think so. I catch you every time. Nityashree Narasimhan, 1.
Ma'am, 1 OD, ma'am.
1 is OD, fine. Nisho Katiravel,
OD, ma'am.
okay. Abel Prashant,
Present, ma'am.
Preetika,
Present, ma'am.
Kevin Kurian Joseph,
Present, ma'am.
Hiten,
OD, ma'am.
okay. Adya,
Present, ma'am.
Jay Vora,
Yes, ma'am.
Kishore,
Present, ma'am.
Sridevi.
Present, ma'am.
Everybody leaving the meeting after giving the attendance. I can see everybody leaving. This is the main thing which I don't like to take attendance. Yash Rai. Okay, noted. Jayesh Kumar.
Present, ma'am.
Okay, you sound very sleepy. Okay. So what shall we do? Should we recollect our, somebody can help us understand our confusion matrix, or you will try to resolve the confusion by yourself by looking into the PPT, and I can move on to the next slide. What do you say? People are confused even to tell that. Is it? You tell me whether I should revise this or proceed with the next topic. If no answers, I will proceed with the next topic. No answer means everybody has understood everything. That's my conclusion. Shall I proceed with the next one? Okay. Fine. So the last thing what I discussed was F1 score. Score which takes into the goodness of your precision and recall value. Okay, so our precision and recall, where it is good, the different scenarios we discussed. Go through the PPT once again. It's very, very interesting. Okay, that's why I tried to explain all these things with the help of a case study, the two COVID positive case study, which helps us to relate easily that particular scenario. Okay, so then next is another concept called receiver operating characteristic curve and area under the curve, ROC and AUC. Okay, so this ROC, receiver operator characteristic, this is yet another common tool for evaluation. Okay, so this is actually a graph which shows the performance of the classification model at the various classification threshold. Okay, at the various classification threshold. Okay, so this actually this particular curve, this ROC curve, actually plots two parameters. One is what is called the true positive rate, and the second one is what is called the false positive rate. Has anyone studied about this or learnt about this anywhere? This ROC curve? Are people not doing NPTEL courses here in this class? NPTEL course?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. People are not doing data science course, data science for engineers?
Yes, ma'am. We've come across ROC in
ROC comes in which week? Week number 8 or week number 7 or week number 8?
week 7, ma'am.
Week 7. The same concept. So I think people are familiar. Those who have, done your ML course or data science course. Okay, so this basically, it's actually a graph which shows the performance of classification model at the various classification threshold. Okay, so I said this curve is having this plot is actually plots two parameters. One is TPR and another one is FPR, true positive rate and false positive rate. Okay, so for each possible threshold, okay, because I said this is basically a graph which shows the performance of classification model at various classification threshold. So for each possible threshold, so this ROC curve, the ROC curve or this ROC plot, so the ROC curve will plot the false positive rate versus the true positive rate, FPR versus TPR. Okay, so if you ask me what is FPR and TPR, TPR we have already seen. What is TPR? TPR is actually also called true positivity rate or sensitivity or recall. You can call it by different names. Okay, so that is what is true positivity. Okay, so true positivity means fraction of positive instances that are correctly predicted as positive. That are correctly predicted as positive. We had seen TPR is equal to TP divided by TP plus FN. TP in our example was correctly predicted as COVID positive. TP plus FN means total COVID positive passengers. Okay, so that was what was TPR, synonym for recall, your true positive rate or sensitivity. Okay, it's a synonym for recall. So that's what is defined here. Then we have what is called false positive rate here. False positive rate. Okay, so you can see here the ROC curve plotting TPR. You can see this particular graph plotting your TPR and FPR at different classification threshold. Okay, so actually lowering the classification threshold will classify more items as positive. But then that will increase both false positives and true positives. Okay, so actually how do you compute what are the points which are coming in this particular ROC curve? So for that, you can go for regression models and logistic regression and other things. Okay, so but then we have a technique called AUC. This is what is meant by AUC. That is area under the curve. It's a sorting based algorithm. So that basically provides the information regarding the area under the curve. Okay, area under the curve. You can see here area under the curve. So AUC stands for area under the ROC curve. So you can think of it as a two-dimensional area beneath the entire ROC curve. Entire ROC curve, the two-dimensional area with the x-axis and y-axis, starting from 0, 0 to 1, 1. Okay, so you can imagine in that context. Okay, so I mean, when you tell regarding AUC, so the values are ranging from 0 to 1. Okay, values are ranging from 0 to 1. Okay, so a model whose predictions are 100% wrong will have a value of AUC value of 0, and ones whose predictions are 100% will have a value of 1. Okay, will have a value of 1. Okay, so that's what this area under the curve stands for. Okay, so actually there are further explanations to it, but then at this particular point of time, because your topic is just the metrics for evaluating the performance of various classification models, and I had discussed about n number of things. We discussed about holdout, We discussed about cross validation, stratified validation, sampling. Then we discussed about accuracy measure. Okay, then we discussed about the sensitivity, which is also called recall. Then we discussed about precision F1 score and ROC. So AOC is the area under the curve, a small topic which comes under ROC. So I'm just concluding by telling that the value ranges between 0 and 1, and 100% wrong means it will have value 0, otherwise it will have value 1. Okay, so with that I am concluding this particular topic. So next class tomorrow's class I will finish this for third unit. Okay, so we have 2 more small topics, I think bagging and boosting. I think so, to improve the performance accuracy. So with that we conclude. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. I'll share the PPT in the GCR. Thank you. I think by now the strength of the class is half. Okay. Right, you can leave for the next class. Thank you.